Okay, I'm recording. And all right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, podcast.
If you wish to be the king of the jungle, it's not enough to act like a king. You must be the king. There can be no doubt, because doubt causes chaos and one's own demise.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
This is Cheapseat Reviews.
Hello, and thank you for listening to Cheapseat Reviews, the podcast that explores the Hollywood film industry for the greater good.
The greater effing good, man.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate that.
I really had to think about that one for a minute, but
yeah,
I did the best I could.
Appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah. You gonna do it the whole episode or just the intro here?
I don't know. It's maybe if the spirit moves me. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I could keep it. I could lose it. Whatever.
All right. I'm always impressed, because I've been listening to your accents for forever, but I'm always impressed that you can do like the different regions of England. You know, like if you needed to do proper British English, like you could. But I always like this version.
Yeah. Well, this one, it kind of falls off the tongue a little bit easier because it's a little laid back, and it's not as proper, and that's okay. But sometimes when I do this, it goes into Australian for some reason. I don't know why. It's weird like that.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie.
Strains of Ben Affleck for some reason. It's weird.
Yeah. Oh, John knows the joke. Yeah, no, you actually kind of right now, it feels like I'm talking to Eggsy from The Kingsman right now.
I can see that. That's okay. It's a little bit Eggsy-ish.
Yeah. I was afraid you didn't know that reference. I was going to get to be upset. So I know we've not watched it for the podcast, but
I like eggs. It's good.
Okay.
A little bit over medium though.
All right, over medium. You don't like them runny? You don't like runny eggs?
Not ill. No. I'm fat. I don't like to chase. That's a joke I did there.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to move on from eggs and things like that. This is episode 415. 415. It means it's tax day, everybody. And tonight we're talking about The Gentleman, Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman. I am Sean Allred, and joining me tonight is Andrew, always keeps frozen Russians in his freezer, Jimison.
That are really nice tracksuits in my closet.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like to be a part of the tracksuit mafia.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that movie, The Tracksuit Mafia? That's a movie reference.
Yeah, it is. Where is it?
Oh, The Tracksuit Mafia.
Oh, he's going to stew on that all night.
Oh, I can't think of what it's from. Gosh dang it. Yeah, don't tell me right now. We'll figure. You're going to be in the middle of like some brilliant point about the show, about the movie, and also I'm going to go, oh my God, that's from The Thing. Tracksuit Mafia. Gosh dang it. All right. And making his Cheapseat Reviews debut is producer John T., always asks for a steak when blackmailing people. Bolds.
Careful. It's hot.
I love that he touched it. You're like, it's a grill. Like it's an open grill.
There are open flames right there.
It's right there. And he still touched it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Oh, so yeah, let's pull up a comfy chair and dive in. Again, no Sam tonight. Some personal stuff came up. So we're thinking about Sam. Of course, by the time you hear this, we hope that all things are good, but still, as we record right now, things are not great. So thinking about Sam and his family. So yeah. All right. So The Gentleman, Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman, 2019's The Gentleman, starring Matthew McConaughey or McConaughey, however you want to pronounce it.
McConaughey.
Sorry. Yeah. Charlie Hunman. This is our second Charlie Hunman movie. Because he was also in the King Arthur Legend of the Sword, which is also a Guy Ritchie film. And I think I'm the only person in America that liked that movie.
No, I liked it. It was okay.
Okay, good. It also stars Colin Farrell, Hugh Grant in probably my favorite Hugh Grant movie ever.
Yeah.
And
Role.
yeah, and then a bunch of other people that are also usually in Guy Ritchie films, like Eddie Marsan, who was Detective Lestrade in Sherlock Holmes, and Tom Wu, who played Lord George in this, was George in King Arthur. So we've also
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Right.
It's the same guy. It's George. So when they called him Lord George in the movie, I thought, oh, well, that's an obvious nod to that. But yeah, this movie, 2019. So was this the first time viewing for all three of us? Because it was for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I saw it at the theater when it came out.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yep.
So
cool.
So why?
I love Guy Ritchie caper films.
Yeah.
British gangster capers. I'm all over them. And this one, like, it was very fun to see on the big screen.
That's cool. So let's talk about some Guy Ritchie films. So what are some of the other ones that you like? Like, how would you rank this up with like Snatch or some of the other ones that he's done?
I would put it just below Snatch and above Rock and Rolla, which I think is better than Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which I know is probably not a popular Guy Ritchie opinion. I haven't seen Revolver. Probably one of my biggest gaps, but as far as his gangster capers go, I would say Snatch, then this, then Rock and Rolla, then Lock, Stock.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking through some of his stuff too. Yeah, I need to see. We definitely need to do for the podcast. We need to do Revolver. We need to do Rock and Rolla. Like, I love Guy Ritchie films. I kind of fell in love with him actually with Sherlock Holmes. That was my first introduction to his movies with Sherlock Holmes, and I thought, oh, I like this. And then Man from U.N.C.L.E. came out, and I thought, well, this was kind of a fun time. I had a good time with Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Man from U.N.C.L.E. is an unappreciated masterpiece of just fun film. Like,
yeah, I still haven't seen it.
It's just so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like how did this not just go huge?
It does kind of scream our podcast, like it does kind of scream like it's the perfect thing for this show because it is a little underappreciated, underwatched. I think mostly because the people that know what Man from U.N.C.L.E. is are like my dad, and he's not going to watch the remake unless I say, right, Dad, let's watch the remake.
Yeah.
Which is what I did. I watched it with him.
And you've got, it's like, oh, here's the guy who plays Superman playing a spy against one of the guy who played the twins in The Social Network. Like, oh, both of these guys are really funny and can carry the spy comedy very well.
Yeah, that's also like the two most attractive men in Hollywood at the same time, right?
And then Alicia Vikander next to them, just blowing them both out of the water too with her attitude. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a neat thing. We'll do it for the podcast. At some point, I plan on watching all of his feature films for the podcast. I just him and like
I need to see more.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I mean,
because I haven't seen
made Swept from the Sea. You don't want to overpromise.
I haven't seen a lot. I haven't seen Snatch, which
we did it for the podcast.
From what I hear, I don't think I was on that episode though.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, because I don't remember that at all. And then, and if I was, then I don't know that I paid attention to the movie. But I don't think I was. Maybe
we didn't do it. Did we not?
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels I haven't seen. And, Wrath of Man was the latest one we saw, which I liked. King Arthur I liked. And then, of course, the Sherlock Holmes films I really liked. So I think I need to see some more of his stuff.
Hold on. I'm really having like a what's it called? A Manchurian, not a Manchurian. What's it called?
Deja vu?
Yeah. Not deja vu.
Outer body experience.
No, it was the
erection.
Stop it. It was God, the apartheid. Mandela effect. Gosh, dang it.
Oh, okay.
I could have swore we watched Snatch for the podcast because I watched the movie, but it's not in our spreadsheet and it's not in my clips vault. Holy shit. How have we not done that? I guess I just watched it. I didn't know I did that anymore. Just watched movies for the fun of it. I thought I only watched things for the podcast.
Oh.
So that's sad, man. You need to just enjoy movies.
I don't have time. I really don't. I mean, especially now that
I'm kidding.
I know you are, but like now that DC is or not DC, definitely not DC. Now that Disney Plus is pumping out like She-Hulk,
Andor,
and then Andor, and
that just started, didn't it?
Yeah, Andor. I watched the first 2 episodes of Andor. No spoilers, but it's a 12 episode season, and they've already greenlit 2 seasons. So I'm just gonna just say it's kind of a slow burn.
Okay,
they've got a long way to go, and they're gonna take their time. I think
there's also the Game of Thrones. Are you watching that?
I'm not, but
yeah, I'm not.
Did you ever watch the original Game of Thrones show?
So I read books 1 through 3, and when I got to the Red Wedding, I threw the book in the trash. Now I fished it out and then finished the book about 6 months later at the request of Sam, and then started book 4, and then something else happened, and then legit put the book back on my shelf and stopped watching it or stopped reading it. I watched all of season 1 and I watched the Red Wedding and then stopped. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it anymore. So Sam kept, he harasses me. If he were here, he would call me a quitter and you're missing out. I'm like, I don't need to punish myself. Life is hard as it is. I don't need to watch it be difficult. I like movies that are fun and that escape, or mainly shows. Like I want my TV shows to be like, my favorite shows are Psych and Leverage and
Leave It to Beaver,
the Star Trek. Things that have hope and that are fun and don't really have a lot of consequences. You don't
want to turn on the feel bad episode of the week every time.
Yeah, like I've never watched Breaking Bad for the same reason. I know it's great TV. I know it's great. I'm not watching it because it's not good TV. I know it's good TV. I just don't want to watch the worst in people.
You're killing me, Smalls.
I know. I hear this all the time. I hear it all the time when I say, I've never watched Breaking Bad or the zombie show, Walking Dead, or
No, I'm with you on The Walking Dead.
Or
that is the feel bad television show ever.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm good. There's enough bad in the world. I'm good. So anyway,
I respect that.
I appreciate that. I get a lot of grief for it on Twitter, but that's fine. I mean, I say it on Twitter so I can get reaction. To be fair.
Hey, engagement's engagement, man.
That's right. That is absolutely right. So let's talk about this movie. I'm so excited to talk about this movie. I posted this on Twitter yesterday, or I guess yesterday. It's been a long time since we watched a movie for the podcast where when I got done, I wanted to immediately watch again. Like
extremely rewatchable movie.
If it wasn't for the fact because we had to move the show recording a day. So if it wasn't for the fact that my wife was like, "Hey, let's watch Andor and She-Hulk," I would have watched this again.
Yeah.
If I could have. I'm not saying that she controls the TV. I'm just saying she wanted to watch something with me, so therefore I wanted to watch it too. But this movie was everything that Wrath of Man wasn't.
Yeah.
Like
I would. Yeah.
Like I liked Wrath of Man, but it's not this. This is still a drama with, violence and killing but it's just like, these are bad guys, right? I mean, he's technically a bad guy, right? He kills other whatever, but like everyone he kills deserves it. They don't kill innocents, right? I mean, even the Russian kid falls out the window is 100% his own fault.
Yeah. It's just fun. It's just like, all right, the opening credits give you an impression of the film. Everybody in the opening credits except Matthew McConaughey is shooting in some way, either with a camera or firing guns. And it gives you an impression, if you just watch those, like, oh, what am I getting into? Like, not that, which I think is a fun way to mess with the audience just from the get-go. Well, obviously the opening scene and then the credits are just meant to throw you off the off track completely.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, I mean, because the movie opens with Matthew McConaughey delivering that dialogue I posted there at the beginning, and then you see a guy walk up behind him, pull a silencer out, and then there's a gunshot, and there's blood on the wall or whatever, and you're like, wait, is this movie going to show how Matthew McConaughey gets popped in the head? Like, that's what you think.
Yep.
And then
that's what you expect.
that's kind of what you expect. And when we get to that moment, he's fine, and Charlie Hunnam's there to save him. Because honestly, I'm not going to lie. Honestly, when that moment happens, like we as an audience, right, we're now trying to figure out who's the guy that shot him, right? Who's that guy, right?
Yeah.
And for a pretty good part of length of the movie, I thought it was going to be Charlie Hunnam.
Oh, okay.
Really?
I thought it was going to be like a portrayal kind of a thing. But
like that.
I'm glad it wasn't.
I really am too. Yeah. I really am too.
All right, so this movie is an evolution of one of the original British gangster movies. That have you ever either of you seen The Long Good Friday from 1980?
No.
I like if you watch that, having watched this, if you watch that, you'll see, oh, this is what Guy Ritchie either was relitigating or this is like his version of that movie. Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, down to several just exact same shots and types of plot point. So I think this is his love note to that movie. And so that kind of opening, it's like, okay, I like it because a seemingly inconsequential thing turns out to be the biggest deal in the whole movie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do 5-word reviews while we're here. Andrew, why don't you go ahead and lay down your 5-word review?
Do you mean to do the read so people know?
Oh yeah, sure. Why not? Let's do the read because I actually like this read.
Yeah. An American expat tries to sell off his highly profitable marijuana empire in London, triggering plots, schemes, bribery, and blackmail in an attempt to steal his domain out from under him.
Yeah.
Pretty spot on.
It is.
Okay, so sorry, I got distracted by. So one piece of trivia that I'm going to get to in a minute, but I'm looking at Guy Ritchie's filmography, right? And you click on director there, and I forget that he did the Aladdin movie. Like I forget because it doesn't feel like a Guy Ritchie film. It's just honestly, if you would have told me
he directed or just
he directed it.
Screenplay.
Yeah, he directed it.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Okay.
If you would have told me Jon Favreau did it, I would have believed you because it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't feel like a Guy Ritchie film. It just feels like any of the other live action Disney films. Like they all feel like they're the same thing. And that's fine. They're not bad movies. I don't hate them. They're fine. My kids like them, whatever. So then I look up, so he did The Gentleman in 2019 and then Wrath of Man in 21. And then something this year, Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre. I know I didn't pronounce that right, but it came out.
I'm sorry. What was that?
Yeah, I did that badly on purpose. But it stars Audrey Plaza, Jason Statham, Josh Hartnett, Carrie Elwes, Hugh Grant, Eddie Marsden, and some other dudes that we recognize from things, but like you wouldn't recognize their name. But like I look at these pictures and go, oh yeah, these guys are all dudes from other Guy Ritchie films. And it's a Special Agent Orson Fortune, really? That's his name, Orson Fortune, and his team of operatives rescue one of Hollywood's biggest movie stars to help them on an undercover mission when the sale of a deadly new weapons technology threatens to disrupt the world order. Okay, that's a lot. But it just says action comedy thriller.
So kind of an I Spy type thing,
I guess. I can't. When did this thing come out?
Is it out?
It just says 2022. I'm looking. Release date. It just says 2022. It doesn't have a month, so maybe it's not been released yet.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's weird. Well, okay, so it's already been released in Indonesia, UAB, Mexico. So
markets only first.
Yeah, it hasn't hit us yet. Okay, well,
sounds fun.
Yeah, it does. The trailer looks hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. Audrey Plaza is gonna bring some comedy to it. Right. So, all right. Well, I'm here for it. But then here's the other thing. They're making a TV show based off this movie, The Gentleman miniseries.
Good, because I was thinking, I'm like, man, this could actually have a little series attached to it.
Yeah.
Like there are enough well written characters and stories here that's like I could stand to see more of almost everybody in this movie.
Yeah. So it's like, in pre-production right now. I don't know if it's the same actors, but it's.
I hope it follows the coach, like Colin.
Yes.
Yeah, that character was my favorite character. I know we're already like jumping in, but
yeah,
that Colin Farrell is such a great actor.
Yeah,
and he plays this role perfectly. Like the scene where he like knocks the crap out of these teenagers in a restaurant. I was laughing the whole time, even though, I mean, it was a serious thing. He was trying to teach him a lesson.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, yes, I want to see more of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is going to be something I bring up. It's like, you know what? If he had been more of the main character, that's the only way I think this movie would have been more enjoyable. It's like I could stand to see fewer millionaires and more coach and the toddlers.
Yeah.
I did like the toddlers, they were all pretty funny too. But you're right, like the coach is just such an interesting character because like I don't know, for some reason when he was introduced, there was a part of me that thinks like, oh, okay, he's going to be a rival also, right? And like he's coming in to complicate things. And he immediately is like, "Hey, my bad. I'm sorry. Here's your product back, and I will owe you some favors. Like, just don't hurt my guys. Like, don't hurt my boys because I protect them." I'm like, that's a really cool thing. And he's willing to, I mean, obviously this is a guy that has probably done bad things in the past. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so willing to shoot 2 Russians in the back of the head. But yeah, you're right. He's such a great character, which is obviously why, Andrew, he's your background for tonight's episode.
Yeah.
Also, those tracksuits are fantastic, and I want one of each. Like,
did you figure out where the Tracksuit Mafia is from yet?
No, I actually forgot about it until he just said tracksuit. I had put it in the back of my head. I don't want to Google it, but I'll.
Okay.
Gosh dang it, tracksuit Mafia.
I'm just gonna keep plugging it in when I feel like it tonight.
Yeah, go ahead. By all means. By the end of the episode, either you'll just tell me or I'll figure it out. I don't think I'm going to figure it out, but you're going to.
Well, I mean, and by the end of the movie, that's basically what they've created is taking a character who tries to do good in the community and tries to help out. And it's like, well, now he's a ringleader of a gang that does drug heists and murders and takes out rival Russians.
Okay,
for the wrong reason, but with the right result.
So that was a question I wanted to ask you. Is that at the end of the movie, right, where the Russians are there to kill Matthew McConaughey's character, and they get him in the car, that SUV, and McConaughey realizes that he's done for, right? And then the toddlers say, "Hey, we're gonna take care of what's his name, Matthew."
The Michael situation.
We're gonna take care of it, and they use that phrase, which with connotation could mean means we're gonna help him or we're gonna kill him, right?
Yeah.
And so they get in front of him and they just open up with automatic weapons into the van. So were they trying to kill Matthew McConaughey or were they trying to save him?
They were trying to kill him. They didn't know who was driving that car. Yeah. They were trying to just take him out so that their coach wouldn't have to keep doing favors for the gangsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just happened to work out in everybody's favor. I also love that they're filming that too while they spray the vehicle with bullets.
Yeah. These guys filmed everything. These guys were crazy.
Just filming all their crimes.
It's the perfect example of today's society. Yeah. Like, back in the day, people would get away with crimes because they had no evidence, but now people film themselves doing it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. John, what's your 5-word?
Did we even get to Andrew's?
Yeah, he did his.
Okay.
Oh, no. I said Andrew do it, and then you did the read.
It's fine, John. Go ahead.
All right. I have 2. My first is fun, Ritchie gangster movie evolution. just like we talked about earlier, stacking on top of his lower budget early days, and then great acting saves the day.
Nice.
Because with a different cast, this movie could have been terrible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I agree. I think the casting was perfect for this.
Like, so we like Matthew McConaughey in this role.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do too. Like, there are some times when you look at him and think, take it or leave it, right? I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, I think you could have had any, charming white actor in Interstellar and it would have worked. I don't think he made that movie better. I think, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a Christopher Nolan film. It's just one of those movies where it feels like the director's bigger than the actor. Whereas, for me, no, this movie does scream Guy Ritchie. I think Matthew McConaughey is great in this movie. I just think he just embodies American and British at the same time. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way they describe him as being able to move between all the groups in society because he's an outsider in somewhere, in a completely new world, but also watching him go from being all suave to freaking out a little bit when it's like, hey, by the way, we dropped a Russian out the window.
Yeah.
You need to invest in some parachutes is one of my favorite lines in the movie.
Yeah. Because the second guy goes out. Yeah. Yeah, it was the Chinaman, right? That they were chasing and he fell off the bridge and then got squished by the train.
Yeah, fuck.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, I know you were just saying his name, but still, I'm gonna have to bleep that out.
But that's his name.
I know it is. It's funny too. So it was just so funny because I have IMDb pulled up on The Gentleman, and it's just looping the trailer, and it's the scene where they have that guy in the trunk of their car, and they're getting ready to pull him out. Is literally the trailer that's playing right now. That's funny.
Yeah.
That whole scene was.
I thought that was kind of a funny choice of name for him, but I love it when directors throw little things like that in there that are edgy just because.
Yeah. And it gives the fun wordplay back and forth while they're standing over the trunk talking to him and about him.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we're just we're just doing a little who's on first. Got it.
Yeah, PHUC is his name. So yeah, there's a lot of that. So Sam actually presented a 5-word review. Andrew, I promise we are going to do yours.
No, it's okay.
Sam says completely rewatchable Ritchie film. It's only 4, and he also he also wrote, "The hell, who, what, huh?"
Nice. Yeah, I was with that for most of the film.
Yeah, because this movie does kind of keep you guessing about what's going on, and because like even the way that when I mentioned like the tease at the beginning where you think McConaughey has been shot on the phone, you say you hear him talking to his wife, and then he says, "Who's there with you?" It almost makes you think like she's cheating on him,
right?
And then that leads us into the scene that the one thing in the movie that I did not like, and we're going to get to that in just a second.
Yeah.
Andrew, what's your 5-word review?
Before we get to it, we're talking about the actors. That is probably one actor that could have been switched out, and that was Rosalind, his wife.
Okay.
I feel like that could have been played by. I mean, she wasn't bad, but I think it could have been switched out for any other person, and it would have been the same. You know who they really should have? Here's my vote, but that's just because I want her in all things. Is Rebecca Ferguson?
Oh,
yeah,
she would have been.
Yeah, she could have played that.
She would have been great in that. But
now, originally it was supposed to be Kate Beckinsale, and I actually can't see that. I think Michelle Dockery did a better job, and it was a better match for Matthew McConaughey than Kate Beckinsale would have been. Yeah, she's too busy. Like, I think she's been kind of sullied by the Underworld series. Like, I can only see her in like leather shooting machine guns at the floor and things like that. But that's okay.
Okay. So I had 2 5-word reviews. The best of Guy Ritchie.
Okay.
There's one. that I have seen.
That you've seen. You've not seen Snatch yet.
Yeah.
You'll love Snatch.
Yeah. And then perfectly funny, witty, slow burn.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah, I do like that. Like
And
that.
I agree with Sam, and you have said this already, that it's just rewatchable. And there's not many movies that we watch for the show that I immediately do want to just turn it back on and watch it again.
Yeah.
The fact that the runtime is almost 2 full hours is kind of puts a damper on that, but not really. It's still worth the time, I think.
Yeah.
And it does, like you said, it just keeps you on your toes, keeps you on your edge of your seat, and keeps you guessing and questioning and wondering what's going to happen. And, I think that, and it's already been mentioned, but I'm going to say it again. I think this is Hugh Grant's best role. I haven't seen him in too many things that I've actually liked him in.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, he was perfect. And I think he did a great job.
And he carried what, while it's supposed to be the backbone of the story, the conversation between these two over the course of a night. It's like, this could have been so boring. This could have been the worst way to tell this story if it wasn't for the fact that Hugh Grant just embraced the role and was like, all right, this is who I am. I'm a terrible person and I'm here to bribe some bad guys. So, yeah.
Yeah. He just chews up the scenery, which is great because Charlie Hunnam is just stoic and quiet and just, he's just there to hear the story. He is us, right? He is, the us, the audience in this thing. And so Guy Ritchie likes to do this, right? He's done this in other films, right? Where someone's telling a story and then we get to see the story. So he did it, I think, really, really well in the Arthur Legend of the Sword movie. I love it when they're talking about all of the things that they're talking about at the beginning of the movie, and we get, these quick flashbacks where they're talking to the Vikings, and then they're talking to Flat Nose Mike, and then they're talking to George. Like, they're all over the place, right? And this movie just does that for 90% of the movie. Like, that's the movie, is this storytelling archetype, and I love it. I love that. Which brings me to my 5-word review of smart British gangster story time.
Yeah.
Because that's what this is. I mean, Andrew knows me long enough to know I like a good story. I like to tell a good story. And that's what this movie is. This movie is just telling a story. And I love that you guys are 100% right. I love that Hugh Grant is just, he wants to tell the story the way he wants to tell the story. And like, when we get to the lip reading part, he goes, don't, bring some energy to it. Don't be flat, right? Don't be so wooden. Like he's treating it like a movie. I love it. And then of course the movie at the end kind of breaks the fourth wall a little bit by he goes to the Miramax Studios, and there's the Man from U.N.C.L.E. sign on the back, that movie that he was in, Hugh Grant. So there's a little bit of a fourth wall break, but I didn't care. It made me laugh, like out loud. I was laughing. I was dying. So I enjoyed that. I really did.
Yeah. And I liked his character because it's like, okay, here's a guy who chose a path and is looked down on by most of the people he knows because he is a, sleaze reporter, basically. And he's not a good guy. So he's like, okay, this is my one chance to make it big. Like, I have this information I can get, like, this is my last chance to make a lot of money and, retire comfortably. But at the same time, he would be just as happy if Charlie Hunnam was like, you know what? Why don't you be a member of our gang? Because that's what he wants. Like, you can tell is like, can we just be friends or more than friends even? It's like, I would love to just hang out with you guys too, but I got to bribe you because you won't hang out with me. So I enjoyed how well he portrayed every little aspect of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know who else I liked in this was Eddie Marzan or Marzan, however you want to say his last name. The editor of the little tabloid. The whole scene with the pig, like That's a perfect scene. And I love the reaction of Ray as he's like showing him, and he's no. That's enough. I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
That's just a really funny little bit there and they don't have to spell it out for you. You're just like, you understand what has happened.
Yeah.
Or at least what they want you to think has happened.
And he shows really well too, the two-faced side of everybody in this, because he's at the fancy dinner when he gets the insult from Matthew McConaughey, rubbing elbows with high society or the decline of high society. But then he's in his office and just being just as sleazy as Hugh Grant is, and like celebrating, trying to bring bring everybody down and use Pressfield's daughter against him and all this stuff. It's like, okay, you're just as big a scumbag as everybody else in this movie, but you look good in a suit.
Yeah. So, you do it with words instead of guns or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. When in that scene where he's at the party and McConaughey, or he reaches his hand to shake McConaughey's hand. Has that ever happened to you guys? Because I was so anxious during that scene because that has happened to me before. I've like reached out my hand to shake somebody's hand or, fist bump somebody or something, and they don't respond at all, either because they don't see me or maybe I think they do see me and they don't care to do it. And I'm like, okay, this is awkward.
Yeah,
There's nothing more awkward to me than that.
I think we've all had they didn't see the high five or the fist bump or whatever. Like, I think that's happened.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had an intentional not shake my hand thing.
Yeah.
Where like we're looking in the eye and I reach my hand out and he intentionally doesn't.
Yeah.
Actually, I take that back. You know what? There is one time. I'll have to tell it off air. Sorry. I have to tell it off air.
I think I did it unintentionally to somebody one time. Like, I was in my early 20s and I was just wiped out, heading home from the bar to go get sleep for school the next day. And they're just like, "Oh, hey, you want to have a beer?" I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm good." And like, they never talked to me again. Like, okay, I'm sorry. I was exhausted, but that was not a snub.
I think I have some childhood trauma that makes this really anxious for me. And that is when I was playing Little League Baseball. And my pastor, I saw the preacher from our church was at the ball field, right? And you know how you are when you're a kid and you see somebody you immediately want to run up and say hey to them or shake their hand or hug them or high five or whatever. And so I see him from down the sidewalk, game's over. Actually, I think I'm just getting there. And I'm running up and I'm like, got my arms spread out wide and I'm going to give this guy a hug. And he grabs my hands, like grabs my wrists so that I don't hug him.
He did an Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah, he did. He did. And I think thinking back now, he was wearing a white shirt and I was a baseball player that probably had been in dirt and stuff. And he probably just didn't want to get dirty.
Yeah.
But that has always stuck with me. Like this person that I am used to patting on the back or shaking a hand or high-fiving or whatever didn't accept my gesture of whatever, I don't know. It just kind of bothers me still to this day.
Obviously.
God rest his soul. He's dead.
Okay. Well, speaking of...
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up.
No, but speaking of bother, so I do want to bring this up. This movie does a thing that I wish movies would stop doing. No, there wasn't feedback at a microphone. There was a microphone. But Dry Eye is a bad guy. And we know this because, one, he comes in and tries to, buy out Matthew McConaughey and he threatens him. And we have that cool scene where, Matthew McConaughey shoots him in the face 38 times with the gun or whatever. And then Charlie Hunnam goes, "That's not how this works." And then you get the actual thing of what happens, right?
Was it because he was using a Samsung?
Well, yeah. I think no one's using an iPhone in this movie, though. I don't think anyone had an iPhone.
I don't think so.
But we also know that he's a bad guy because he shows up like later we see him shoot George, who, is also a bad guy, but, he shot George and we like George, or we like George from King Arthur. But then we have to really show that he's a bad guy when he goes and kind of, he's there to bother McConaughey's wife, and she uses that gun that had that weird sound and shot that. I mean, that guy got shot in the noggin, and he didn't know he was dead for about 20 seconds. Like he touched his forehead, saw the blood, and then died. And then she shot the other henchman. Well, then she's out of bullets, and so Dry Eye gets the better of her and does what every bad guy does in these movies, and he has to bend her over the table to rape her. And I'm kind of tired of that in movies. Again, we know he's a bad guy. We don't need to see that. Now, thankfully, McConaughey shows up and shoots him in the face 6 times, and, it doesn't go any farther. But it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, Guy Ritchie, like, I know bad guys do bad things, but we don't have to have this moment. It could have been.
Yeah. They needed something there to give him time, to give McConaughey time to get in the room.
Yeah.
So they needed some sort of action, but it didn't have to be that.
Yeah.
No, it really didn't have to be. And especially because Henry Golding is such a good performer. His performance in the movie, just that scene alone, when he doesn't believe that she's going to shoot, and like as soon as she pulls the trigger, he is freaking out.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, okay. And like, okay, I am going to leave. And it's like, man, there could have been something different there. It could have just been a fight.
And I feel like that was a little out of character for his character.
Yes.
I mean, you don't, there's nothing that is seen that kind of, what's the word that, not advertised,
foretells or
foretell. Yeah. There's nothing that does that ahead of time. And it just kind of catches you off guard too.
Yeah. He's a suave, debonair. I mean, he's described as James Bond. It's like, no, this is out of character for him. Yeah. And it could have been better. I mean, I would have been happy if it had been a fight and then it just basically ended with a Departed style, like out of nowhere, blam, as Matthew McConaughey walks in the room and doesn't even hesitate. Like something, it didn't have to be an attempted rape.
Yeah.
And, on the flip side, I know that this happens. I know that is a real thing. And I don't know if that's a director choice to just prove that this guy is really bad, or if that's a director choice to say, hey, this kind of happens in real life and we're bringing attention to it. I don't know what the choice was necessarily, but I still think it could have been something else because it wasn't fitting of the character, and we don't need it, like you said.
And they'd established enough that she was Matthew McConaughey's queen. She was the obsession and the love of his life. Like he didn't need that kind of drive to just immediately shoot the guy dead. It's like just the fact that he was there in her office had earned him a death sentence by Matthew McConaughey. Yeah. Because of his love for her. So
it reminded me of the season, I think it's season 1 of Daredevil, when the one of the Russian cab driver, gang dudes comes and interrupts their dinner. Like he's just having dinner with his would-be wife, and Kingpin didn't like that. So Andrew, you're making faces. What's
I know why Andrew's making that face. You're close.
Oh,
you're in the right neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
For Tracksuit Mafia.
Oh, really? Oh, wait a minute. Tracksuit Mafia. That's from. There you just gave me the thing. It's from Hawkeye.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm pretty sure it was you right there, Andrew. Like, oh, he's close.
You're giving me that face.
I was wondering if he was going to be like, oh, wait. But yeah.
No, because your face was telling me. For me, I was picking up like, oh. Am I allowed? I can spoil Daredevil, right? That show's been out like 6 years now. I can talk about what happens to the cab driver, right? Like,
it's on a different streaming service now.
Yeah, like we don't care that because that's the guy he kills with a car door, right? He bashes his head in with a car door because he interrupted his dinner. Like, that's so you're right, to the point. All right. So anyway, we're gonna move past this. That's honestly the only thing in the entire movie that I didn't love. Everything else, I was having a great time. But when he pushed her over the desk, I literally rolled my eyes and I just kind of looked over at my wife and we just kind of shrugged. She turned away. She couldn't watch that stuff. She can't watch that stuff at all. But
you mentioned that he's already shown that that's his queen and that he cares enough about her. However, as you were talking, I just remembered he gives him that little bit of grace earlier. And so maybe we did need something else to push him, because this time he might have let him go again. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think if he walked in, if like say instead of the attempted rape, let's say that he beats her up a little bit and he's, standing over her in a position where he's going to potentially kill her or hurt her or whatever. Just the fact that he roughed her up, I think is enough for McConaughey to blow him away. I really do.
I think so too. Yeah.
So, all right. Anyway, moving past that fun topic, this movie also once again falls into the category of I didn't take a lot of notes because the dialogue is very fast. It's also very British, so I had a hard time sometimes understanding. I should have put subtitles on, but I didn't. But so my first note was I love the interjection of the film. So the movie starts like in a regular 16:9 format, and then he says, "No, it's like film, like anamorphic film. I want to see the grain." And the movie cuts to a grain, and then it cuts into like a 4:3, and then it widens back out to 16:10 format. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so clever. I loved every part of that because, as a guy that worked in film, and I've actually worked on a movie that's shot in film, like I really appreciated that. So I loved all of that stuff. I really did. It just cracked me up. And then let's see. I also wrote
that was one of my two. Like, oh, here's this shout out to Tarantino. Like, this is a very Quentin Tarantino little sequence here.
I thought the same thing. Yeah.
Yep.
I wrote also, haha, they made a music video and then robbed him.
And did you see the music video play it in the credits? Did you watch that far?
No, I didn't.
Oh yeah,
so you can watch the whole the music video. Yeah.
Oh, I should have done that. And that's it. Literally, my next note was, I know Dry Eye is a bad guy, but we didn't have to have that scene. And then my last note was, haha, they broke the fourth wall. That's all my notes on this movie.
Yeah.
It was just such a good time. And I captured a lot of clips. And yeah. Are we ready to do clips? Anything else we want to talk about?
I liked my other Tarantino shout out moment was I liked how they completely kept that he gave Charlie Hunnam his Jules and Vincent in the apartment with the burger scene when they go in to get Flora Pressfield out of the apartment, and Aslan just keeps stepping on Charlie Hunnam's badassery. He's like, oh no, I'm trying to be intimidating. I'm here to lay down the law. Tell you what, this little Russian kid won't shut up and stop interrupting me.
Oh man, and the look that the big
Bunny?
black guy,
Bunny,
yeah. The look that he gives him when he's like, yeah, I mind.
Yeah, it just shuts him down. Yeah, I enjoyed that because I was like, okay, this is it's like, yeah, just got a bunch of people mouthing off. It's like, no, we're gangsters. We're trying to be tough here and intimidate you. Like, be scared, damn it.
It's funny. I'm not a Tarantino connoisseur. I think I've seen like 4 of his movies, three or 4 of his movies. None of them I really love. Like, I like a couple of them, but there's none that I love. So hearing you say that's like a Tarantino thing, like I can totally feel it now, but I didn't pick up on it in the moment. So I want to go back and watch it with the Tarantino lens on to like really appreciate it. So I'll definitely do that. Again, I can't wait to watch this movie again. Like I went back and scrolled through our movies, right? So last week, Men in Black, good time. I'm good. I don't need to watch it anytime soon. Joker, I don't want to watch that movie ever again. And again, we said it in the show. It's not because it's a bad movie. I think it is a fantastic movie. I just don't want to be depressed.
Yeah.
Clueless.
That's a good time anytime.
That's a good time. I'm fine with it. Whatever. The Wrestler, never want to see again. We got to go all the way back to my favorite film of all time, Serenity, before I find a movie where I really just want to sit down and watch it again.
Yeah.
And if you guys said, hey, can we stop the podcast and go watch Serenity, like live stream it, I probably would be willing to do that. Because it's, again, favorite movie. And then you got to go back. The Gray Man, sure. Why not? I could watch that again, but, or not. Edward Scissorhands, I'm good. The Quick and the Dead, good. Cowboys and Aliens, no. The Accountant, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got to go back a ways before I see a movie where I'm like, oh, I really want to watch The King's Man. No. The Princess Bride. We got to go all the way back to The Princess Bride before I find a movie where I'm like, I really want to watch it again, you know?
Yeah,
I'm okay weeping without that one.
Yeah, I know. You still get grief for that, Andrew. It's pretty fun.
I know I do. I do. I see the Twitter.
I could take that or leave it. I mean, honestly, if you said, do you want to watch Princess Bride or The Gentleman? I'm like, let's watch The Gentleman. Or I've seen The Princess Bride my whole life. You know, it's one of those, like, I know that movie. I don't need to pop it in and watch it.
There is that. That's true. I've only seen it like 2 times all the way through. So if you gave me an option for either one, it depends on the audience, right? If my kids are nearby, then we'll watch The Princess Bride. But if it's a couple, if it's us, I might say, well, let's watch The Gentleman again.
Yeah.
And I'll put subtitles on so I can understand what they're saying.
Subtitles definitely help. Like we talked about earlier, the Coach, I wished the Coach had been more of a main character. I think, Lock, Stock is just about 4 regular guys trying to score a little score. Snatch, same thing. Regular people. There's a little bit of hint at dealing with richer gangsters there. Rock and Roll at first is his first step into like, okay, now we're dealing with wealthy people and their failed children and rubbing elbows with the gangster world. This one is just full on millionaires and billionaires being part of kind of being gangsters, but also it's like, got to keep it on the streets a little bit.
Right.
Like I enjoyed how it kind of pilloried the lords and ladies class in England, how it's like talked about the decline of them and how it's just like, they've got these big houses, they present these big lives, but they don't have the big money anymore. But I wish Coach had been a little more of a central character. And I hope that like we were saying, I hope the series focuses more on him.
Yeah, that would be kind of neat. Just I don't know. I don't know what the show would be about. Is it going to be like their adventures helping out, Michael's character or what? I don't know. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm here for it. But you're not wrong. He's. I mean, it's also the fact that Colin Farrell is at the part in his career where he can say, I'll be in a movie where I'm only in it for 6 scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're going to be the 6 best scenes because I'm in it.
Right.
And
he's at the point where he can play an old man. Like, not old, but like he's supposed to be older.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Experienced. And he's okay with that.
Yeah.
He could still play a younger guy if he wanted to.
Sure.
But he's okay with,
Or, the Penguin. Incredibly.
Yeah.
Convincingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
not like anything like him.
No.
He's 8 years older. 8. Does that math work? 4, 6. Math is. He's 6 years older than me.
Okay.
He's only 6
Really?
years. Yeah, he's 46.
Wow.
So, I think maybe they made him look a little bit older in this movie.
I think they tried to put him into his 50s a little bit.
Yeah. That math is right. 1976, right? Yeah, he's 46.
Wow. Yeah.
He's
I would
46.
have thought he was older.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess they
I
did.
would have guessed he was closer to 50. No, or at 50.
Yeah. So inadvertently, I called you old, and I'm sorry.
No, I am old. It's fine.
Actually, no, I'm not, and that's fine.
Okay, good.
I'm your age, and I'm not old, so.
Matthew McConaughey, he was born in 69, so he's kind of getting getting up there a little bit. Charlie Hunnam, how old is he? I'm just curious.
Oh, he's
young.
He's 2 years. He's 2 years older than I am, so he's 42.
He is?
Yeah.
I thought he was in his late 30s.
Yeah.
Dang.
I thought he was younger than me.
Yeah. he
faced Charlie Hunnam over there.
He looks young. He's in great shape. I mean, I don't know. I mean, honestly, he's the best part of that bad Pacific Rim movie. I know I said it. I don't think Pacific Rim's all that great, but he's my favorite part of that movie. And of course, again, I like King Arthur. So more of that, please. All right.
And I liked a good chunk of Sons of Anarchy, but honestly, he was like the least engaging character on that whole show, and he was the main character, but all the side characters saved it. But he's definitely better in this kind of role.
All right. Well, we got once again. Go ahead,
sorry.
Andrew. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I kind of think of Pacific Rim like how a dog thinks about eating its turds once in a while. Like,
okay,
one of them might be tasty-ish enough to down. I think.
Yeah,
is how a dog looks at it. Sorry,
sure.
I just had to throw that in there.
You're fine. Yeah, I appreciate you doing that. So, like I said, Matthew McConaughey, born in '69. His wife was born in '81.
Yeah. So typical movie relationship age difference.
I mean, 12, 13 years, whatever that is. I mean, that's not the most egregious we've seen, but the way the movie portrayed both of them, they looked pretty close in age. I don't know if they aged her a little bit or they de-aged McConaughey a little bit, but I didn't notice it at all in the movie. And again, I didn't know that until I looked at her IMDb page. I mean, she's a year older than me. So anyway.
Yeah, she's same age as me. So that's how close her birthdays are.
All right. Are we ready for some clips?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I got a few. All right. There we go. Number one.
Oh, well, thank God you're not Greedy Fletcher, you deluded, shit-eating cunt.
Quite like it when you talk dirty to me. I can feel myself engorging. Come on, have a drink with me. It's really yummy.
I guess I should have, I'm going to say this. They use the C word a lot in this movie. Some of the clips have the C word. I'm going to say the C word. I don't like that word. I don't know. I'm not going to bleep it out because it's technically not an expletive word, explicit word. But if that word offends you, you might want to skip ahead a couple minutes.
Can I ask a question? Because I really need somebody to explain this to me.
Yeah.
Why is cunt okay for the Brits to say, but in America it's frowned upon?
I don't know.
I don't know either. To say bloody all we want, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I mean, I think it's just the trade-off we get, but nothing.
Oh, we can say tabernacle.
Apparently. Yeah, we learned that. Yeah, last week. Tabernacle is a Canadian swear word.
Really?
Yeah.
But we're not saying it right. You have to be more guttural, right? It was the tabernacle.
Yeah, you got to say it. You got to say it with the French phlegm in your throat.
Tabernacle. Like you stubbed your toe or something. It's a swear word, but we don't know what it means, and I don't think anyone's going to be offended if I don't bleep that out. But
and for people who, if you've probably already watched the movie if you're listening to this, but there are some racist comments in the movie. There are some anti-Semitic comments in the movie. It is a Guy Ritchie movie. Doesn't excuse, but it is the characters, and obviously there's a lot of swearing in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sherlock Holmes are the only two. And Men from U.N.C.L.E., I think, are the only non-rated R movies that he's done.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, and King Arthur. King Arthur's not rated R either. It's PG-13.
Oh,
so he had a little string there. So I know we do have some listeners that listen to the show regardless and might not watch the movie. Good friend of the show and dear listener, Rosie. I will sometimes give her a heads up. Basically, if my wife likes it, then she'll watch it. If my wife doesn't like it, she won't watch it because they have very similar taste in films. Okay. So we got about 2/3 of the way through the movie, and I just looked over at my wife and I said, should I just go ahead and tell Rosie? And she's like, yeah. So I just messaged Rosie, you will not enjoy this movie. And she says, thanks for the heads up. So, Rosie, if you're listening to this episode, I appreciate it. If you don't like that word, it's going to come up again in a little bit, okay? So, just want to give you a heads up. This is
your... mean it in the British sense.
Yeah, well, John kind of mentioned a little bit of racist talk. I captured it because it was funny, and I actually really like the way that it's explained in the movie. And in the context of the movie, I think it's okay. I guess we'll see what happens. All right. Here are words for marijuana I have never heard before.
Weed, bush, skunkamola, White Widow super cheese. It's the new gold rush.
Outside of weed, I have never heard any of those words used for marijuana.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard the word skunk associated with it before, but it's usually followed by the word weed.
Yeah.
Skunk weed. Yeah. But
skunkamola. Skunk is both good and bad. It's like, okay, which is it?
Yeah.
But yeah, they just kept calling it bush here. I'm like, I've never ever heard that.
That was actually the working title of the film was going to be called Bush, which I think
I think it's the screenplay that he
it is
Raymond.
Yeah, I think they would have confused this movie as a biopic on the band Bush. I'm glad they chose not to. We mentioned this earlier.
That is a useful bit of plant then, isn't it? So that heats up your knees and cooks at the same time. You've got to show me how to get one of them.
Well, you can take it with you if you off now.
Ray, is there any chance of a steak?
And then he goes and gets that Wagyu beef. And then my only issue is that piece of beef he has is so thinly cut that when he cuts into it, he's like, how, what temperature?
It's the top half or the bottom half. Yes.
It's so thin. How can you it looks like roast beef you just grilled. I mean, it was so thin.
It's like a flank steak or something really thin.
Yeah.
Also, it's Wagyu beef in the freezer. So, okay, all the jokes Americans make about British cooking, you guys are just reinforcing our stereotypes about you here. Cooking frozen Wagyu beef right onto the grill.
I've never had Wagyu beef. What is it?
It's just extra, the really well marbled fat and supposed to be very tasty.
Isn't
tender.
Isn't the Wagyu beef? Isn't that the beef where the cow never touches the ground, or is that Kobe beef? I can't remember. I can't remember. I'm a steak guy, but I can't remember. There's one where literally it's in Japan where the beef, the cow is born and never touches the ground. Literally, it's put in a holster and fed and whatever. And the reason why they don't let it touch the ground is because they don't want the muscles to have to be used.
Yeah.
So the meat is more tender if you don't use your muscles. And so it grows up having never touched the ground. It's very PETA non-friendly, right?
It's like the foie gras version of beef.
Yeah, it's very unhumane as much as you can be humane with a cow. I can't remember which one it is. It's either Kobe or the Wagyu. I can't remember. If you are a fan of one of those, let me know. I don't remember. Or Andrew can look it up.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. It says Wagyu beef has increased in fat percentage due to the decrease in grazing and increase in using feed result. Sorry, that doesn't answer the question.
I think it's Wagyu though.
Yeah,
I think Kobe is more like organic, grass-fed marketing.
Yeah, could be marketing.
Honestly, I think Kobe is more marketing than anything.
Honestly, every time I hear Kobe beef, I always remember it was an episode of How I Met Your Mother when John Cho is trying to woo Marshall to come join the firm. And he takes him to this place. He goes, "You ever had Kobe beef?" And he goes, "Isn't that the most expensive beef in the world?" He goes, "Yeah. Well, this place has lobster-fed Kobe beef." And so they're it shows them later, he's got the lobster apron on. And you see this lobster, it's been opened up. He goes, "How was your lobster?" He goes, "Man, you could really taste the beef in that lobster." All right. Time for some gangsters.
I'm sure you're all roared men, gangsters, proper naughty boys, and all that bollocks. But I come in peace. I'm not trying to steal it. I'm trying to buy it. For good money. Honest money.
Yeah. And then they don't believe him, and he pulls out the submachine gun and fires off some rounds, and here we go.
Yeah. I love that sequence because it ends with what I think is one of the funniest things you can ever do on film, just having somebody eat it off their bicycle. Every time I see it in a movie, I love it. And especially when you combine it with he just doors the guy off his bike to end the chase. Like, all right, I love it.
Well, it's funny because
the Clan playing in the background.
Yeah.
Like, yes. It's just a very rewatchable chase sequence.
And it's like the kids are like laughing at these guys, like, you can't catch up because you're old, right? And then and then he just doors him. Yeah, it's pretty great. All right. I'm going to play this clip because I thought it's really funny. If this offends you, I'm sorry, but I thought this was funny. So again, if you don't like the C word, skip ahead 30 seconds. Just hit that skip button twice. Okay, here we go.
What are you doing? Why aren't you training your black cunt? I'm on my own here.
Did he just call me a black cunt?
Yes, he did.
You can't do that, that's racist.
But you are black and you are the cunt, Ernie. Those are the facts. I don't think Poynton cares what race you run in.
The fact that I'm black has nothing to do with the fact I'm a cunt.
He didn't say black people were cunts, Ernie. He was being specific to you. One has nothing to do with the other. And I'd go a step further, if I'm not mistaken, and say it was a term of familiar affection.
Primetime's a gypsy. I won't call him a pikey cunt.
Why not? He might be very understanding. Only if it comes from a place of love, of course. Now, back to the issue at hand.
I'm sorry. That's funny. That cracks me up.
Guy Ritchie is really good at skating that line of like, hey, you can really piss a lot of people off. And it's like, wait, you're also kind of making a great point of just normal day-to-day conversation. Like, damn it, Guy Ritchie.
Right.
Now, that I didn't find as offensive as I did find Hugh Grant's.
Yeah.
When he was talking about Dry Eye.
Yeah.
And he was using some of the accents of, the Asian, or I guess he's Chinese, so he was using what he would consider Chinese accents on different words.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That bothered me a little bit more than the conversation you just played.
I think that's also to highlight the fact that his character is a horrible person.
Yeah, just a sleaze, and so it works really well, those two conversations. Like, oh, I really like these guys. And it's like, yeah, they're just having an open and honest conversation about language, whereas he's just saying racist things because he thinks it's funny.
I also just love that Colin Farrell says, he doesn't care what race you run in. Like, like using the word race almost incorrectly. Like he says, you can't say that's racist. He doesn't care what race you run in. Like, I know what he's saying, but just the way he said it made it sound like a race, like a marathon. It is funny. All right. I like that line. Again, if that offends you, I'm sorry, I guess. All right. This was a funny thing to say.
Left unattended, you will shit yourself to death before the sun to the set. I suggest taking 2 of these fizzy biscuits.
Fizzy biscuits. Is that a thing? I've never heard. I guess we can't say Alka-Seltzer, but fizzy biscuits. I like that.
And it was good to see, like, oh yeah, that's right. He was a botanist. He was a botany major. Like,
yeah.
He definitely would have that kind of stuff at his beck and call.
Oh my gosh. When that projectile vomit came out, I was not ready for that scene. Like, I almost, cause I think I was probably sipping on my Arnold Palmer here and I about did a spit take. I mean, it was shocking.
Well, and especially because it's like, oh, this is a ridiculous, obviously fake projectile vomit that then turns into a very intense speech by Matthew McConaughey. It's like, how is this still so intimidating?
Yeah, because like
it keeps spraying puke.
Yeah, because again, that kind of feels like, honestly, it kind of feels like a Tarantino thing. Now that we've kind of established that, like that kind of feels like something he would do, like in Kill Bill or something, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's a little over the top, and we're okay with it because the whole movie is established as a little over the top with wire work and spraying blood with the katanas and stuff. So like when it happened in this movie, it was a little shocking, but you're right. It's still an intense scene. I mean, I'm being attacked by a gnat. What the hell? Gracious. It's an intense scene. So
yeah. And again, it highlights like when they're saying, oh, he wants out of the business because he wants to spend more time with his wife. It's like the only time he kills. They can threaten his business. They can rob him. They can cause him $100 million worth of slowdown in his business. he's not going to kill somebody for that.
Yeah.
But when they threaten his wife, he's like, okay. And because she told him, you know, they had the conversation where she said, you have people for this, don't get your hands dirty. And he doesn't until it's her.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
This clip is labeled Octopus.
Lord George didn't come through it. Didn't come through it? The last thing you need to do is attract any octopus.
Octopus? What does that mean? It's not a very good translation.
No, there's nothing wrong with the translation. Matthew's not that fluent, and it's Cantonese. Just go with it and fill in the blanks. And action.
That just cracks me up.
That was an interesting exchange, too.
Yeah, I loved all of it. This also made me laugh out loud.
Sorry, boss. I'm only a blue belt.
Especially because then, Eddie Marsan immediately starts to just be like, you know who I am?
Yeah.
And just like immediately as soon as his guy gets in the car, he's like, no, please, no.
Last clip I have.
It's a tad dramatic, isn't it? Corpses in freezers. Who is this man? What's he got to do with anything that I'm talking about?
I take it with that statement you are in denial of so said relationship with this frozen Chinaman?
Well, of course I'm in denial of it. I don't have relationships with dead frozen Chinamen.
just such a calm conversation about this dead frozen Chinaman. I liked it.
Yeah, I liked Jeremy Strong. We haven't talked about him a lot, but I like his character and the. You thinking the whole time like, oh, here's this guy pulling the strings, while off to the side there's somebody not related to this at all pulling even more strings.
Yeah. His character to me was a little forgettable, as far, and I don't know if that's just because he didn't have as much screen time as the rest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did in some ways, but I don't know. It was a little forgettable to me.
He never got a moment to shine. He never got a spotlight moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I didn't know what he was from. Like, I don't know him very well. So he's also in Molly's Game, which is an Aaron Sorkin thing, but we were supposed to do for the podcast, but things happened. He's in The Good Wife. He's in Zero Dark 30, but I don't remember him in that.
I don't remember him from that. Yeah.
He's in The Happening, Private Oster. No idea. He's also in, but recently he was in The Trial of the Chicago 7 as Jerry Rubin. So he has like a big beard. He's the guy, I think he's the guy what gets kind of entrapped by the female cop. I think that's him, right?
Yeah, he's also in Succession, the show.
I haven't watched that.
Succession.
Yeah, I haven't watched that either. But I got confused for a second because he's in Serenity, but not our Serenity. He's in that Matthew McConaughey really bad thing, Serenity, that came out a couple of years ago. So anyway, it's time for our game. And our game this week is sponsored by...
And now for some more bad news. Ready?
All right. This is the game called Wait, Did You Notice? No. Hey, did you notice? Sorry. I didn't have my script pulled up yet. Hey, did you notice? This is a game where Andrew takes funny things from the show, the movie, not trivia, but just stuff that he noticed in the movie. And we're going to do kind of a round robin back and forth. Best out of 5 wins. If John goes first, if he gets it right, great. He gets the point. If he doesn't, I have a chance to steal. Take it away, Andrew.
All right. So, John, here's your first question. Where was Michael going to take his wife for their date night? He said, it's date night. I want to take you to
the River Cafe.
Very good. Yeah. River Cafe.
Nice. I did not know that at all. So.
All right, Sean, this is your question. A specific model of Land Rover is used in this film several times. What is that model of Land Rover?
No, the GX7. I don't know any of the Land Rover models at all. It's a brand I just don't know.
All right, John, do you know?
Oh, the only one I know is the Evoque, and I don't think it was the Evoque.
Yeah, I didn't know this either. I just happened to see it plastered on the front of the vehicle. It's called the Defender.
Ah,
that's a cool name for a car.
Yeah, Land Rover Defender. All right, back to John. As we are introduced to Dry Eye, we see him inspecting shipping containers. The first one contains smuggled immigrants that are, and the other, contains rims for cars. What is the shipping container number?
Oh, God.
The rims are in.
420.
All right, Sean.
17.
He says, after he sees the immigrants, he says, all right, let's go look at container number 432. Ah. And that's where the rims.
You were close with 420.
Yeah, you were close. Yeah. All right, Sean. What is the name of the restaurant where the coach whips up on these 4 teenage hooligans?
Oh, it's like a sandwich shop or something. I don't know. Forsyth Falcon Sandwich Shop. No, Four Bush, right? Four Bush? What's your shirt say?
Yeah.
Four Bush. Falcon Sandwich Shop.
No. John.
Man, the only words I remember from that are Euro menu at the top of the menu.
I'm going to go ahead and give it to I'm going to go ahead and give it to you because the name of the cafe is Euro Cafe.
Oh, okay.
And it said Euro menu at the top. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. All right. Yeah.
So there's 2 for you.
Yeah, he's killing it.
All right. And then, John, this is your question. As Fletcher talks to Ray about lip reading, the conversation between Dry Eye and Matthew, he mentions a 1974 classic film starring Gene Hackman. The Conversation. Very good. All right. So there we are. That's the game.
Nice. Ding, ding, ding. Congratulations.
Sweet. Thank you.
All right. Well, time for this. What? No, that's not it. This.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
I'm not sure why that's in there. It's in the wrong spot. Yeah, that's yeah.
What?
There we go. I don't even remember what that movie's from because I don't have it labeled as a movie. It's just labeled as
what?
That's it. All right. But if you want more Matthew McConaughey, I have
Rudy. I shot a guy with a flare gun. Flare gun. Cool.
There you go. I got that. So. Anyway, time for So it's time for our top 3. This is where top 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our top 3 is gangster movies. Somehow we haven't done this category, but in fairness, we don't watch a lot of gangster movies. And this isn't kind of a typical gangster movie, but I think it was a good category for it, and therefore I chose it. So gangster movies, and John, you go.
Okay. Coming at number 3 for me, Denzel Washington starred in a fantastic movie about an American gangster called Training Day. And I think Training Day is my 3rd favorite. The Untouchables is another movie I can watch again and again. And hands down, my favorite is Layer Cake.
Oh, I've not seen
one of
that.
the finest British gangster movies there is.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. I will go next. My number 3 is The Departed. Like that movie. That's a movie that I've seen, I think, just twice. It was just one of those movies where I watched it, was really kind of in awe of it. I watched it again like a week and a half later, and I'm like, wow, that movie was really good. But now I'm good.
I watched it once, and then I said, I'm good after that.
Yeah. My number 2, going on a little bit of a stretch, but don't really care, is The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
With all the other, it's not really a gangster movie, but it's got gangs in it.
I was going to say, they are gangs are the cause of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Or the mob or whatever.
Yep.
And then my number 1 is Road to Perdition.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And,
it's funny. We both chose Daniel Craig movies for our number 1.
Yeah. Andrew.
Okay. Number 3, I went with Rush Hour.
Nice.
With the triads.
Yeah.
And then number 2, I have Reservoir Dogs. And number 1, I have Pulp Fiction.
All right. Cool. Yeah. All good stuff. Twitter and Facebook was also pretty active. And let's see. Open Pike starts off with The Departed, Pulp Fiction, and First Contact, Star Trek First Contact, the holodeck scene. I really appreciate Jesse. I saw that he did that, so I didn't have to do the Star Trek connection. I appreciate that. So he and Cam from Green Shirt Podcast have kind of gone back and forth, and they've created this thread that's a lot of fun. He goes, "Oh, Pulp Fiction, still, I like my picks." And then Jesse says, "Wait, am I missing that?" And then Cam comes back with The Departed, Eastern Promises, and Dick Tracy, because he posted those on Facebook.
Oh, Dick Tracy, yeah. Forgot about that.
Yeah. And then they've kind of gone back and forth with some other stuff, and I'm not going to get into it because it's a long conversation. So go to our Twitter page at CheapSeatCast, and you can find that conversation. It's actually pretty funny. Also joining us is Game for a Movie Podcast. Says, "Not The Gentleman for sure. I have to think about it, but The Gentleman wasn't my cup of tea." All right. No worries. Yeah. Ebony, eBunny061 on Twitter, who is going to be our guest next week. She has a couple of podcasts we'll talk about. Says Pulp Fiction, Road to Perdition, and Goodfellas. Let's see. The Pagan Productions says City of God. Wes of Deep Dive Disney says Snatch. And Colleen Crouch at CMGC60 says, "Does John Wick, The Accountant, and The Hitman count? They're all about criminals, although I would not define them as gangsters." To which I said, sure, organized crime, it's kind of the same thing. So
yeah.
There. And then Facebook, we had the one that really surprised me, honestly, was my dad chimed in and said, "I watched it last night."
Nice.
But
watch the Gentleman.
Yeah.
Great.
Dad's been retired for a long time, and once about 3 or 4 years ago, he discovered streaming TV like Amazon Prime and Netflix. So he'll watch anything. So there's a British it's like the British version of like Law and Order that's been on for like 38 seasons or something like that. He just eats it up. He loves British TV right now.
And parents love British TV.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was
parents
a little
of adults these days. They can't get enough British cop shows.
I was a little surprised. Most of my Facebook comments were just people saying that they liked the movie. They weren't really participating in the top 3, whatever. But that's fine. I think that's all. A lot of fans of Dick Tracy.
I'm kind of angry that I forgot about that one.
Jesse,
it's a very divisive movie for some reason, but I love that film.
At Jester Nene, Nene, also says, "Did someone say Dick Tracy?" So yeah, I mean, we reviewed it not that long ago.
We did. Yep.
Yeah, we reviewed it not that long ago. So go back and listen to that episode, because I think we were all kind of surprised at how much we enjoyed that movie. Again, it kind of holds up, honestly.
Yeah. Excellent period piece.
Yeah, and it's just kind of a fun thing, It's just a weird, fun comic book deal.
Yeah.
So, all right, time for this.
Wait, what's supposed to happen?
This is where we give our score from 0 to 10. And I'm going to let Sam go first, because Sam told me that he's going to give it a rating of 7.85. So a pretty good number there from Sam. I think he really had a good time with this movie. Andrew.
Well, the IMDb puts it right there is Sam. It's at 7.8. I'm going to go a little bit higher and go with an 8.25.
All right. I like it. John.
I'm going to go with a solid 8.
All right. Right on. And I too, I had such a good time with this. I might put this up a little bit higher than Snatch. I mean, Snatch is really, really good. And maybe just because I watched this movie just the other day, but I didn't leave Snatch going, "Oh, I need to watch that again."
Yeah.
Again, Snatch is good, and I want to watch the other ones. I need to watch those other ones. But right now, as I sit here The Gentleman's probably my favorite Guy Ritchie film. I might put it above Sherlock Holmes, and I love Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
And Andrew also knows how much I love that King Arthur movie. I mean, legit, King Arthur is one of those movies
good.
I have on my DVR at all times. It's just, there are times where it's like, I'm tired. I want to get in bed at 10 o'clock. I don't quite ready to go to bed. I don't really want to watch a rerun. I'll just put that movie on and just watch 20 minutes of it. And then I'm ready for sleep. Like that movie and The Hitman's Bodyguard are the two movies right now that are just so rewatchable for me.
Yeah, I would definitely put this above, I think, the other Ritchie films that I've seen.
Yeah,
I'll have to go watch Snatch though.
Yeah, we'll again. I'm surprised we didn't do it for the podcast. So we'll do it. We'll do it for the
I
podcast.
would gladly come back for all the Guy Ritchie gangster movies if you guys want.
Yeah, I always feel like because they're all very similar, it might be worth doing like a month of Guy Ritchie. Like let's hold on. We're gonna do this real quick. We're doing this live. When is Guy Ritchie's birthday? Oh, it's in September. We've already missed it. Well, I guess we can say we're doing this movie for his birthday because we missed his birthday by 12 days. It's kind of funny, actually.
Okay.
So if we wanted to, next September, we can make it Guy Ritchie month and just do 4 movies of Guy Ritchie next September.
I think that sounds like a fantastic plan.
That's not
especially because we know there'll be a new one out.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least one.
At least one. That might be something that will happen. But until then, I have to give this a score of 8 point. I'm going to give it an 8.5. This movie's really good. I had such a good time with this movie. So highly recommend it. And you know what? I'm looking back at our movies recently. We've had a good string of movies. Like if you go back to, and maybe just because I've been in a good mood, I don't know. I mean, seriously, like other than The Wrestler, everything has been 7.9 or higher going all the way back to Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
For me, other than The Wrestler. Not a huge fan of that. So maybe I've just been in a good mood. I don't know. I'm just happy to do the podcast. I'm excited. So maybe I have to have something that I'm not going to enjoy. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. John, please tell our listeners what podcast you preside over. You are the producer on 2 podcasts, one of which I have been a guest on, and the other one is just absolutely killing it right now with guests from the Star Trek universe. So please take it away, John.
Thank you. Yeah, the first one, I am the producer on Green Shirt, a newbie's trek through TNG. Cam is the host of that. It is his first time watching Star Trek The Next Generation. He missed it when he was a kid. And so we are watching it episode by episode and reviewing it through the lens of 30 to 35 years of being able to look back and compare and contrast it to current Trek on Open Pike Night, which I'm the host of and producer of. And that is a Star Trek Strange New Worlds themed call-in show where we, as new episodes of that drop when they are dropping, we ask the audience to send us in clips to discuss the episode, and then we let that drive our discussion for the week. But like Sean said, here in the off season, we just started getting interviews with cast members and crew members. We're on sort of a writer's streak right now. We just interviewed Akela Cooper and Bill Wolkoff, who both worked on Ghosts of Illyria, episode 3. And Akela also worked on Elysian Kingdom, which is a season favorite for most people. And we'll be interviewing Onitra Johnson, who was also the writer on that, coming up next. You can find Green Shirt on Twitter at GreenShirt87. Open Pike Night is on Twitter at Open Pike. And you can find those both on pretty much any podcast platform.
And I'm kind of embarrassed to say this in front of the two of you. I think I may have seen 2 or 3 episodes of Next Generation, and that's about it.
And that's okay. I mean, the same, like, so Cameron didn't watch it at all, and he's watching it now. As a dude in his 30s, he's just now watching it, and he grew up. He's my age.
He's older than me.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that. For some reason, I thought he was. Anyway, So yeah, I mean, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. I mean, he was a dude like me. I grew up on the films. You know, I mean, TNG was in the house growing up, and I've watched the entire series from to back, but I don't remember most of it. I mean, I even said that when I came on their episode. I like the episode I chose was because I remembered it as the one with Frasier, and he's barely in the movie. He's barely in the episode. He's in the episode for like 30 seconds.
Yep, but it's so memorable, and the episode leading up to it is like, oh man, this is just fun.
Yeah, and it's the one with Frasier. But and it was funny because again, I mentioned it on the episode. I said there's only 2 episodes from that season I remember. It's the one where they're stuck in the time loop, and then it's the one with Frasier. It's the same episode. So I only remembered 1 episode from that season. So, and it's the one that I picked. But
I may not even have seen two or three episodes. I may have only seen 1. But I know I was introduced to that time frame of Star Trek because of Star Trek Generations.
Oh, okay.
Because that movie came out, and I either went to see it or my dad was watching it, and I just happened to sit down and watch it with them or something. But that's how I was introduced to that whole cast, and that generation of show.
Yeah.
The hell of a way to get introduced, but I even like that movie.
Well, Generations is the movie that got me. Like that was the first movie that my dad said to me, "Son, let us go as men do to the theater and watch a thing because your mom's not home." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, let's go."
Yeah.
Like that was the first movie I went with Dad to the theater. The first movie I saw in the theater was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, which we did a whole series on for the show. But that was the first movie because I remember. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when Star Trek 6 came out in the theater. I don't remember Star Trek 5, but I remember Star Trek 6. And one of my neighborhood friends went and saw it and said, "Oh, you got to go see this in the theater. You got to see it." But at that age, I wasn't interested in movie theaters.
Yeah.
Like
and that's the one that got me. That is the Star Trek. That was my first theater. Like the one that really hooked me was Star Trek 6.
Yeah.
Was the end. Yeah.
And for me, it was Generations and watching it going, "Oh, wow." Like it looks so good, because they were they had a budget and they were able to do some CGI that you couldn't do on the TV show.
Yep.
And just being really impressed with how it looked. And I didn't care that, Kirk gets killed by scaffolding or whatever. Like you didn't care not when you were, I don't remember how old I was. 9? When did that movie come out? 95?
7, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 95, 96, something like that.
Yeah, I had to be younger than that. I think it was earlier than that, honestly. But
First Contact was 97 or 98 because I was still in Utah at that point. I remember that. But yeah, it was mid 90s for Generations. They were pretty quick back to back. Those.
Yeah, they were. They were all like 2, 3, 4 years apart. They kept them pretty tight.
Yeah,
because they wanted to get those actors in as many movies as they can.
Yeah.
Anyway. That's not the point. The point is that your show is great, and we're going to have Open Pike, the cast of Open Pike, that is Jesse, Cam, and John, are going to come back on in November. November, we're doing Star Trek month. That's right. Very excited. I don't have the lineup entirely just yet, but it's going to be really, really good. So we're going to do kind of like what we did with Star Wars. The only difference is that we're not doing a true trilogy with Star Trek. We're going to kind of bounce around the universe a little bit. Also because we've already done for the podcast Wrath of Khan and Undiscovered Country and Into Darkness. So it's not like we can do 2, 3, and 4 or the new trilogy.
Yeah.
So
and I'm looking forward to coming back, and we're
gonna have a good time. In the meantime, you can go check out our website, cheapseatreviews.libsyn.com, as well as go to our Twitter, Facebook, all the stuff, all of our socials. Go there, hang out with me, talk with me, send me messages. That's all great. Go to our Patreon, patreon.com/cheapseatreviews. There you can get access to the new stickers that I've just ordered. So not only do I have these really cool, the stickers of the neon Cheap Seat Reviews chair, I just ordered a bunch of hollow stickers. So you want to get your hands on those? Patreon.com/cheapseatreviews. That's the way to do it. Go help us out. I really appreciate it. Next week, boy, is it going to be something special. Next week, Ebony, host of the Snuggies podcast, as well as the Gruesome Twosome Movie Review Some podcast.
Good name. Great name.
Yeah, it's a great name. She hails all the way from Australia, so very excited for that. And we're going to be doing Spirited Away. So it's our first anime film that we will have ever done. Miyazaki film. Very excited. I've seen none of his films.
Yeah, that was the first film of his the first anime I saw was that.
And so when I asked Ebony, what would you like to do? And I put that as an option. She yelled at me to do that. She also she's basically in the last few days, she's been mad at me for not inviting her on for Clueless and Joker. So I was like, well, you can only pick one, Ebony. That's just the way it goes. Yeah. Anyway, John, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute blast. And I am very excited to have you back on in a month and a half.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's been great to be here with you guys tonight.
Absolutely. So all that being said, on behalf of Andrew and Sam and John, this is Sean saying thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next week for Spirited Away.